Hey, welcome. My name is Adam Kaplan.
And I'm Richard Blake, and we're coming to you live from TDF to talk about A Bronx Tale, the musical.
I play Calogero. He is a teen in the 1960s who's trying to make his way in the world against a bunch of major upheavals.
And I play Lorenzo, Calogero's father, who is trying to be a good role model for his son and keep him from getting involved with the wrong crowds.
How do you do at that? Do you do a good job?
I think I'm pretty successful.
Maybe you should see the show and find out.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good plug
right?
right there. For those who haven't seen the movie and wonder, spoiler alert, there might be a happy ending. Might not, though.
We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so we have your questions. Richard, how did we meet in real life?
Well, that's actually an interesting story. How many years ago was that?
It was 2013, I think.
13, okay. So in 2013, I was producing a musical in development, and we actually had Adam come in and play one of the starring roles in the show. And he was adequate.
Thank you so much. We've had a really nice time with you all here today.
No, he was amazing. And we used him in all the subsequent readings. And so we've had a relationship now for going on 5 years almost.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I had seen you in lots of shows, and so, you're
gonna make me feel old right now,
I
aren't you?
am.
All right, cool.
No, it was really cool for me when I was like, I used to listen to you on the soundtrack of Legally Blonde, and I think I saw you in Wicked and Hairspray, like many years ago.
You don't have to do as many manys. Yeah, but no, so it's been cool. It's been cool to work in two different capacities as well. Sort of like to see you, and then when I found out you were doing this, I was like, awesome, because I knew your work and I had seen it and was very happy to have you come in to play my son. So
Keep going.
that's all I have.
Okay. Next question. You want to?
Sure. Since you two know each other so well, tell us something about the other person that's surprising. Any superstitions, bad habits. I don't want you guys to know my bad habits, so I'm not going to discuss any.
Bad habits. One thing that I found funny about Richard or cool actually, is when we I'm gonna brag about you.
Oh, okay.
Richard's been in 16 Broadway shows, and I think that's ridiculously cool. But when I came to the show, our stage manager was like, if you have any questions about the show or about finance, you can go up to Richard's dressing room, which they call the Richard Blake School of Acting and Finance. So I've just been knocking on the door and checking my portfolio.
We're getting them set up. These new tax codes. No, after that, we're getting them hooked up. Make sure he's set for life.
So some people audit the course. I'm personally enrolled in the Richard Blake School of Acting and Finance. I kind of think that maybe he should start taking some of my acting courses too. But
Well, it's good that you think that.
okay. Anything that's surprising about me?
Well, no, like I said last night, the only thing I want to add is that if given the choice for an alternate note, Adam will always take the high note. If there is any possibility to go somewhere, he will always take you into the stratosphere, which is impressive, because most people don't always go for the harder option, and I like that.
Thanks, Richard.
I would probably do the same if I still could.
You can.
Nah, I gave up on that stuff a long time ago.
I feel like you're singing your face off every night I came up to Richard one night in the show, and I think it was at a 2-show day, and I was like, you want to just swap songs?
I said, yeah. He sings like, first of all, I don't want to work as hard because you have way more to do than me in the show. But I want to sing the duet. I want to sing in a world like this.
Who doesn't want to sing with Christiane Pitts?
You know what I mean? That pop song's that's where it's
a great song. I feel like they should make just I know they already have the CD out. Check it out. But I feel
a mixtape.
Yeah,
we should
right?
do a mixtape.
Except with a mixtape, it's other people singing it. But I want to sing it.
We could be like the first show to do like a mixtape.
Yeah. Some might say we're the next Hamilton. So, did you see the movie?
Okay. First of all, yes, I saw the movie like 100 times. It's one of favorite movies in my household. My wife, her two favorite movies are Rocky and A Bronx Tale. So it's something that's been in my house. Obviously, I'm married to a good Italian woman, and so yeah, the movie's been a staple in my household. So when this even came about, before I got it, I was like, I have to have this. I have to, get this. I want to be a part of this because I love this story so much.
Yeah, we have it on VHS at home, at my parents' house. VHS. Throwback.
Do you have a VHS player to play it on?
I think we have now one of those VHS to DVD converters.
Yeah.
But DVDs are being phased out now too.
That's
so pretty soon we're just gonna have Netflix to watch it all on. I did see the movie when I was growing up, and then when I was in auditions for the show, I watched it again just to kind of refresh my memory. And I had seen the musical when I came in previews. I was on a break from tour, and I came and saw you guys in previews, and loved the show. But oddly enough, it was never something that I was like. I feel like when I go and watch shows now, as an actor, I'm like, okay, where can I fit in?
Yeah.
And it was a show that I just sat back and enjoyed, and because it's a group of Italian-looking people, and when you meet me, you're not like Adam Kaplan, Italian boy. So I wasn't like, this is exactly where I need to be, but it's called acting. So
I mean, I personally, I was like, I thought you'd be perfect for it. But also, Bobby Conte, who was the original Calogero, he and Nick Cordero look very kind of similar. Like, he kind of looks like a young Nick Cordero. So, in the show, there's this sort of question of well, who's this kid's dad? So I was very happy when you came because I feel like we look very similar, like we could be related. So I was like, all right, well, I'm buying this.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Did I do any sort of research to create the role? Don't pull that out.
I'm just getting ready for your research line here.
Okay. He likes it. Research to create the role. I watched the movie. We're lucky that we have Chaz Palminteri, who's the source material for the show. He's around all the time. Are you laughing at me?
Yeah, I meant to give a love.
Oh, good.
To Chaz. Much love, Chaz.
Much love. I like that. We need one of these. There is an emoji like that.
A 3-finger emoji? Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is. I've started using it now that I'm in the show.
That's good. Call it product placement.
Right?
Yes.
So we're lucky that we have Chaz around the theater all the time, and he's so accessible and picking his brain, and he loves to tell this story.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had that luxury, and I did spend a lot of time with Chaz. Went to the Bronx, took around, saw his dad's route, bus driving route, and just talked to him so much about what kind of a family man he was. But also, I went and had a son in real life, so that was, for research, just so I knew what it was like to be a dad. No, I actually...
Oh.
No, yeah, so being a dad, no, in all reality, but being a dad of a young boy, really helped, because I look at things differently now, and I think that I understand where fathers come from, so I understood this character a little bit more because of that.
Yeah. I already had my dad when I, did the parts. I already had that research there.
Where's the boo face?
Real-time questions.
Where's the boo face? Is there like a boo?
You look much closer in age while out of character.
Booyah! I don't know who you are, but you friend me on Facebook, on Instagram, stuff like that. I'll friend you back. We're friends now.
Okay, I like this question. Travis asked, I
don't think I'm gonna like this question.
No, you will. As a performer, myself, Travis, he's a violinist. Sometimes it's challenging to remain focused when you're doing the same performance over a long period of time. It's very true. So, for Broadway shows, how do you keep your focus and make sure it doesn't get old, avoid making silly mistakes because of how comfortable it is? Thanks.
Great question.
So you've done a bunch of long runs.
Yeah, this sounds kind of obnoxious, but they pay us. And what I mean by that is, this is our job, and our job is to go out there every night and do a performance that's just as good tonight as it was last night. And by that means as good as it was opening night. The people are paying the same amount of money to see us as they did when we opened. So they deserve just as good of a show.
Yeah.
And that's where our training and our skill comes in to make sure that we use whatever technique and tools that we have to go out there and give the same quality show night after night after night in repetition. Granted, also, it is live theater, so it's organic. So every night, yes, it's the same.
But it's like a living, breathing
song, but it's
thing.
a living, breathing thing. So it's different every night. We don't talk to each other. The mood might just be different with what I'm feeling with the day that I had, and it might influence an inflection here. But that's a butterfly effect that goes. Then Adam's response to me is slightly different, and you know, as long as we're paying attention and listening, I think it's easy to stay in the moment.
Yeah, and for me specifically with this show, the third element, you know, I have the people on stage, myself, and then the audience. I spend so much time addressing and talking to the audience, and that changes on a nightly basis. They'll laugh at different moments. They'll like gasp at different moments. So
We like our audience.
we love Richard. We love our audience. All right. Okay, we got to work with you on these emojis.
I'm working.
So their reactions inform how I then say the next line, and they're my scene partner in a lot of it. So that affects my mood in the show. It affects the flow of the show. So it stays organic, and you just got to keep it in the moment. Why do you think this musical is such a hit, and what do audiences connect to?
Well, you know, I think one of the reasons it's a hit is because of the movie. People love the movie, so it's known.
It's like
people
nostalgic.
Know the team. Yeah, it's nostalgic. It's this sort of, you know, cult classic now, this film. But also, I think it's rooted in family and tradition and neighborhood. And those are all things that I think appeal to people. It's a great story. The music, Alan Menken wrote a great score.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the 1960s, and it's got that, and I think the piece in its entirety is nostalgic. The story, because people know the movie, the sound of it sounds like something from the 60s, and people just like sitting back and being transported into something totally outside of what's going on in the world today.
Yeah, and I think we do a really good job of giving you an inside look to these cultures, these sort of two different cultures, but particularly the Italian American, you know, culture here in this area, or that kind of can be related to from anywhere. So we get a lot of pride on us. People say, I know they probably don't want me to talk about this, but it's like we didn't get nominated, you know, we didn't have any Tonys.
Yeah.
I said, we got more Tonys in our show every night than any other show on Broadway. What are you talking about?
That's
so
true.
It's, you know what I mean?
I haven't heard that one, Richard.
No, but it's, you know, so I think that, and that's the thing, you know, what it comes down to is what makes people jump to their feet and walk out. That's all that really makes a show successful, and that's what we have every night, you know.
Yeah.
People just, they relate.
You've worked with so many legendary artists on the show: Chaz Palminteri, Alan Menken, Jerry Zaks, Robert De Niro, Adam Kaplan. Do you have any funny stories about them?
I mean, sure, there's lots. But one of my favorite stories is when I got my hair cut for the show. Robert De Niro he's very particular, like all of the little things in the show. He's all about detail. You know, he comes from the world of film, so everything's kind of visually must to make sure everything is authentic and detailed. So,
but he grew up in Little Italy.
Yeah, I mean, of course,
he knows this world very well.
Absolutely. So he was at my haircut, the first one, and with the design, and it was like this surreal sort of experience. Like, I was getting my haircut, and he's like, yeah, no, a little shorter here, pull it up here, you know, that's good. And he's like touching my hair, and I was like, this is crazy. Like Robert De Niro was like stroking and combing my hair. So I have that story for the rest of my life. Robert De Niro combed my hair.
When I was, and now I have the story that Richard Blake kept touching my hair live on TDF. No. When I was in rehearsals for the show, so I had a different process of being put into the show because I came in about a year during the Broadway run, and Jerry Zaks, who's this 4-time Tony winning director. I mean, like legendary Broadway director, film director, TV director, came to work with me on all the material, and I have a lot of monologues in the show where I'm addressing the audience. And so one day I was called for rehearsal, and it was Jerry, his associate, and our stage manager, and they just sat in the audience, and I stood on stage, and they were like, "Okay, go." And it was just me on the stage, and 3 of them sitting in the audience, and I was like, "Well, this is surreal." Like, because you see in the movies, like, people, like, rehearsing on a Broadway stage or auditions for Broadway, and it's normally, like, in a small room and in a space, but, like, to be rehearsing on the Broadway stage, just me with these, like, legends in the audience, that was really cool. We talked about this last night.
Oh, God.
When Colodro witnesses a crime as a young boy, it changes his life forever. Did you ever have a life-changing experience? Besides meeting me?
I don't, they mean a life-changing experience for the better?
Shut up.
No.
You see how our relationship is, right?
Wait, so this is, it didn't really change my life, but I actually did witness a crime once. I didn't know that I witnessed a crime. But when I was young, I was at a sleepover with the kids from my dance studio. I started out as a dancer, stuff like that. And so it was like me, one other boy, and like all girls at this like sleepover. And we were outside, me and one of the other girls were outside. And the house behind us, there were like people moving around. This like people came out and they like waved at us because they saw us like looking at them. And they waved at us. Cool, we went back inside. A couple hours later, the cops come and that house got robbed, and those people were actually robbing the house. And we had to go down to the police station and look at mugshots, and it was kind of cool. Like as a kid, I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna like save the day and like pick out the person who like robbed this house. That was the only crime I ever witnessed, though.
One of the other questions that we have is, have you ever committed a crime that you're willing to admit to? So when I was a kid, I saw these kids having a sleepover from a dance studio, and I actually went and robbed a house, and I waved at them, and the perfect crime. I got away with it.
The only thing about that story is you weren't even, like, your parents hadn't even thought about having children.
Yeah. Colodro falls for a girl his crowd doesn't approve of. We talked. Have you ever experienced a Romeo and Juliet type situation where friends or family objected to a relationship? I haven't.
No.
My family's always been super cool and.
Yeah, my family's always been super progressive and.
Yeah.
Have been fine. Make my own decisions.
Have you? One more. Okay. What would a show about your life be called?
Still going. Wow, I hadn't really thought about that.
I'm like, I just saw I, Tanya recently, so like I'm gonna say me, Adam.
Yeah, might be like Almost Famous.
Almost Famous. Almost Famous, the Richard Blake story.
Just kidding.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Check us out at the Longacre Theater. Come see a Bronx sale. I'm Adam Kaplan.
I'm Richard H. Blake.
We'll see you soon.